What is going on, everyone? Welcome back. Now, firstly, I know I sound a little different, but I'm going to talk about that and much more in today's video, which is a style of video that I haven't gotten a chance to make in quite a while. One of those storytime / documentary style videos like the ones I made about meeting Purpled and GamerBoy80. Naturally, I'll be throwing some gameplay in the background for you guys to watch, and I'll also try and include pictures or videos about the stuff I'm talking about wherever possible. But of course, before we get into everything, I just want to thank you guys for the patience you've had with me over the last couple of weeks while I haven't been able to upload. I really do appreciate it, and today I'll be talking about exactly that, so let's get right into it. Now, a lot of you know that I'm currently in my second year of university studying business, and of course last year, which was obviously my first year of university, most people chose to stay home and do online school instead of in person. I, on the other hand, did not. I chose to be on campus and stayed in one of the residence buildings, but I think I mentioned to you guys in a video that after about 2 months there, I decided that being on campus was not a good idea at all. Not only were there a number of outbreaks in the residence buildings and whatnot, but my dorm literally had no hot water or heating, so it got to the point where in mid-October I'd be going to bed with 3 blankets, 2 layers of socks, mittens, and even a winter toque. I'm not exaggerating any of that. But even with all those layers, I would still wake up with like a bright red nose, frozen fingertips and toes, and I'd literally be able to see my breath. It was just that cold. Welcome to Canada. But Chaz, why didn't you just bring a heater? I have no clue why, but we weren't even allowed to bring our own heaters or fans, so I'd go to take a hot shower to warm up and it would just be like even colder. It was like ice water was being poured on my back, so naturally I got out of there as quick as I could. 2 months was more than enough of that for me, and I stayed home the rest of the year. Now let's fast forward all the way to September 4th of this year, the day before I moved into my new apartment. Now, of course, with the way everything went last year, I didn't want to stay in the dorms again this year, and I mean, second years don't typically stay in the residences anyway, so I decided to move into my own apartment along with one of my best friends growing up, who I'm sure you guys will get to meet sooner or later. He is very funny. Nonetheless, aside from being really excited to have my own place and everything, I was nervous about a few things regarding my channel, which I'll get into in a bit. Before I moved in, I made sure to purchase a new keyboard because if you don't know, I used to use some random $10 keyboard that came with my PC, and it was basically falling apart, so I knew I was due for an upgrade. Now, the new keyboard I got is a Corsair K95, which is like a super fancy mechanical gaming keyboard type thing, and although I do really like it, it's also very loud, so I'm definitely gonna have to get used to having my own personal keyboard and mouse sounds vid playing every time I just want to record some craft. But funnily enough, I actually did record a vid like that, which will be coming out soon, because I figured if I'm getting a mechanical keyboard, I might as well just make a real keyboard and mouse sounds video for once. I also got a new headset to go with the setup because my old one was falling apart as well. The new one is a HyperX Cloud Alpha S, just in case anyone was wondering, but I'm getting a little off track here, so I'm gonna get back to the story. As I mentioned, there were some things that I was a little nervous of before moving in, things that I couldn't really control myself. Firstly, I didn't know how good or bad the internet at the new place would be, or if I'd even have internet. If you know me, you know that I hate playing with high ping, so if I moved and had to play with like 150 ping all the time, I probably would have just never played, but needless to say, I'm good to keep playing. Secondly, I didn't know how the audio would compare to being back at home. I used to be in a room with carpet floors which absorb sound and reduce things like echo and reverberation, but my new apartment didn't have a carpet. As you can probably tell, the audio quality is a little bit different than it was, but I don't think it makes all that much of a difference. However, if you guys would like, I'll get some sound panels and just plop a few on the walls and see if that helps a bit. On top of that, living with a roommate can sometimes be super noisy as well, but it's not even just my roommate, it's also the fact that the other people could be having like parties across the hall or in the room next door, or even something as simple as the walls being too thin, which normally would be fine, but you guys know university students, everyone's blasting music and partying till like 4 AM, so it could have been very bad. But luckily I don't think anyone even lives in the room next to me, so I'm pretty sure the only people on my floor who are blasting music and partying till 4 AM are my roommate and I, but you didn't hear that from me. And lastly, the main thing I was nervous about, the biggest problem of them all, if something went wrong with my computer itself. Whether that be dropping or damaging it while moving, or maybe some part just decides to stop working. If anything like that happened, I'd have a huge issue on my hands because not only am I far away from home without any means of transportation, but I'm also very broke. You know, I just felt like living the university student dream, being broke. But good news, guys, as soon as I got here, my computer stopped working. Just what I wanted. On an unrelated note, I'll do an apartment tour video at some point as well, but right now I'm still kind of getting used to it and even still moving some stuff in, but I promise I'll do that eventually. So I moved in early morning on the 5th, but I didn't set my computer up until very late that night because I was mostly unpacking and meeting up with friends and whatnot the whole day, so by the time I turned on my computer for the first time, it was already close to midnight. It was actually working great for the first 3 minutes or so. I logged into Hypixel, and I even called my roommate into my room with me to watch as I played with my new keyboard for the first time, and I thought the best way to start getting used to it would be to hop right into a duel. Now this is where things started to get interesting. You see, right when I warped into the duel, my screen froze, and I was used to that kind of stuff because oftentimes I'd have frame drops like that where my frames would just go to 0 for a couple seconds, except this time after 15 seconds of a frozen screen, it was still frozen. My roommate started to ask me what was going on as if I was supposed to be like, oh yeah, no, I just wanted to look at this single frame of nothing for 15 seconds, that's all. But before I could even say anything, my computer just reboots on its own. I was actually more bummed about losing the duel, and by the way, I was also unnicked because I forgot to nick when I logged in at my apartment for the first time. But something tells me I should have been a little bit more worried about what was still to come than worrying about my stats dropping a little bit. I was like, well, shoot, my day just went from great to great, but with the added bonus of a minor inconvenience. Now, luckily I took out my phone and snapped a picture of what I saw when my computer came back on because I really want you guys to see this. Yeah, that's probably not something that should normally happen on a computer, but I thought maybe I just hadn't plugged everything in properly when I reassembled my PC, so once again I took it apart and put it together again, but unfortunately the exact same thing happened when I turned it back on. Not only that, but there were now little blue dots all over my screen, and the worst part of all was that it wouldn't even let me open Minecraft. I took a picture of that as well. I did what any other person would do in this scenario and blamed the government because, I mean, when is it not the government's fault? I decided to ask for help on Twitter, but nobody seemed to know how to fix it, so I spent the rest of that night researching, and unfortunately when I brought up my device manager, I saw that there was a problem with my graphics card. Just wonderful, isn't it? I was like, oh rats, my day just went from great with the added bonus of a minor inconvenience to great with the added bonus of 2 minor inconveniences. Through a little more research, I found out the error code that was coming up for my graphics card was pretty infamous for meaning I just needed to replace it, but I still wanted to get it checked out just in case it could be fixed. So I decided to go to Best Buy the next day and have them look at it for me because of course it was like 1 in the morning at this point. Even with the obvious issues my computer had, I still thought I'd be able to keep uploading old footage and whatnot until I got it fixed. However, I decided to make a 5-second test video, and videos of that length usually take like 5 to 10 seconds to export, but this time it took almost 2 minutes, so before I even watched the vid I knew that there would be something wrong with it. Yeah, so anything I exported just ended up corrupting, which was on a whole other level of demotivating. I had so many ideas, so much motivation. I wanted to release the meetup vlog and Skywars montage and the adventure map showcase and so many more cool videos I had planned, but now I couldn't even edit a simple video. It was right then that I realized this was a bigger issue than I expected, and I realized it would probably be a while before I could upload again. I started to panic because I began overthinking about how long it would take, and I obviously don't want you guys to have to wait a really long time for me to upload, so I decided to make that community post and hope you guys would forgive me. Unfortunately for me, I found out the hard way. It wasn't as easy as just going to Best Buy the next day and having them fix it for me. Why not? Well, because it was Labor Day, so everything was closed. Okay, so the day after that, I went to Best Buy and wanted to have them fix it for me. I was really hoping they'd find out what the issue was because I had to spend like a whole $10 on the Uber. Spoiler alert, they did not. However, something super cool did happen while I was describing the issue to the Geek Squad. The guy next in line behind me overheard what I was saying, and it turns out he was someone who quite often builds PCs and whatnot, so he was super knowledgeable about many of the errors that graphics cards can run into. We ended up talking for a while, and he gave me a whole bunch of suggestions as well as an offer to take a look at my PC for free if they couldn't figure out what the issue was. After about 2 hours of waiting, the Geek Squad also concluded that the error code is pretty infamous for meaning I just need to replace the graphics card, so I was like, okay, no problem. I would like to buy one singular graphics card, please. Now, was anyone gonna tell me that there's like a worldwide shortage on graphics cards right now because they literally had 0 in stock, not a single graphics card to be found. I was like, okay, well, my day just went from great with 2 inconveniences that carried over from 2 days ago to the worst day of my entire life. No, I'm just messing, but once I got back home, I realized I had a bigger issue on my hands. Not only did I need to get my graphics card replaced, but I also needed to find a new one to replace it. I spent the next couple of days searching all over town for one, calling and emailing all of the nearest stores and seeing what they had in stock, looking through like Facebook Marketplace and other similar sites, and I literally just couldn't find anything other than 3060s, which were way out of my budget. A couple of places actually had a GTX 970 in stock, so I thought maybe I could just order a 2080 or something online and just use the 970 for a bit until the better one arrived, but out of nowhere, the unsung hero of our story arrives, none other than my father himself. I had been keeping him updated about the issues with my PC, but unbeknownst to me, he started looking for graphics cards back at home as well, and he ended up purchasing an RTX 3060, which remember is way better than anything I was looking for, and he told me he could drive it out to me that coming weekend. So this must be where the story ends, right? Everything is solved. Well, I thought that too, but do you remember that guy I met at Best Buy? He ended up breaking into my apartment and stealing my— No, I'm just kidding. I was keeping him updated about the whole situation as well, and when I told him my dad was gonna bring me the 3060 he picked up, he brought up something that I had been completely overlooking, the power supply unit. Now, I'm not going to get into the logistics and everything because frankly I don't really know that much about computer parts, but essentially I only had a 500 watt PSU, or power supply unit, which was fine because the graphics card I had was only a 1070. But the problem was, the 3060 requires almost 200 watts on its own, which is a lot more than the 1070 requires, meaning I needed to upgrade my PSU as well. Luckily, my dad came to the rescue once again, and as soon as he drove the 3060 out to me that weekend, we went to Best Buy, bought a new PSU, had them switch the graphics card and PSU while we went out for a fancy dinner, and just like that, I had a new and improved PC, which is the only reason you're watching this video right now. I'm super excited for some of the uploads that I have coming within the next few weeks, including some videos that I know you guys have been excited for such a long time, for instance, the meetup vlog and Skywars montage, but either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you soon.